So I needed to get the equivalent of a SQL or across a data set, or a union across a data set. So basically querying different parts of that data set and compiling it into one result in Firestore. I'm probably going to be using this again, so I thought I'd put this into a separate video just so I could focus on what I did to achieve this and keep it fairly short as well. So here goes, basically doing 3 Firestore queries that result in observables, and then combining those observables into one final observable that I can use that has got a collection that contains the results of those 3 queries. So for my checklists application, I went with creating 3 arrays on the each user's document. So one that for each role that a user might have on a team. So manager of teams, it's going to list the teams that the user is a manager of. Member of teams, list the teams that the user are a member of, and same for reviewer of teams. And you can see in the example in my Firestore database, on one of my user documents you see manager of teams, and I've got one team in there in the array. Reviewer of teams, I've got one team in there in their array as well. Now what I want to do, that works well for checking for a certain user what roles they have on a team. With my Angular application, the user record is always loaded in and is available to me in any component. So as part of the authentication service, I can straight away see what roles a user has on a team. So that works well. The other thing I want to do is be able to go from the team point of view and see what users are members of certain teams. So be able to go across all the users and do a query across those 3 arrays, role arrays, and combine them. Now, one of the limitations in Firestore, and we can see here on the Firebase site, is Firestore provides limited OR capabilities. So they've got some built-in operators that allow you to do ORs across members of a array on a record, but you can't do ORs across a collection of documents. By default, you can only do one where condition and get the results of that where condition, but can't do multiple wheres within the same collection the way you could in SQL, where you can do an OR and get groups of documents that match the various conditions. So the way I got around that, if we go to my code, is to actually do 3 queries. So doing a query across the users on each of the arrays in the user record, and then combining those resulting queries. So getting the queries in this case as an observable. So I get to do a query for team members. So it returns an observable, and it's using the where condition where the particular team ID is contained within the member of teams array. Same thing, I do a team manager observable where it's checking to see where a particular team is in the array for managers of teams, and same thing for reviewers of teams. So the result of that is I have 3 observables, and what I want to do is combine them into one. So I'm using the combineLatest operator, NGRX operator, and I'm passing it the array of the 3 observables I've just created, so team members, team managers, and team reviewers, and then I'm piping that and mapping it the 3 observables and the 3 resulting sets of users, members, managers, and reviewers, and then within that map, so from those 3 arrays, I'm basically concatenating them using the concat operator, so members array. I'm concatenating that with the managers and the reviewers arrays, so it returns just one array with all three of those arrays combined. And because it's within this map and pipe, the result is a single observable is returned, which contains the contents of the three individual observables above. So basically does an OR on those three groups of separate document collections. And this is useful because there's cases where, a lot of cases when you're writing your application where you want to do the equivalent of ORs or doing unions that you can do in SQL fairly easily, but using a NoSQL database like Firestore, then you have to do these sort of things where you get the sub-collections that you want individually as observables and then combine the observables. So let's have a look at where I'm using this function to aggregate the three views into users. So it's in the team user list component, and on init I'm calling this user service find by team ID, so that's the function we're just looking at, and passing it the team ID, and that's returning that aggregated collection of users into this users dollar observable. You can see the result in the application, so I'm signed in as tester1. So if I look at the team list and go into Angular, so you see down below here is where it's calling that find by team ID, so it's finding all the users who have a role associated with the Angular team ID, and it's finding managers and reviewers in this case. And if I go into the Java developers team, doing the same thing, it's finding managers and reviewers for this particular team. So it's combined the three individual queries on users to give this one view showing managers, reviewers, and members of the team.